Hello and welcome back to the Technovits channel where we provide you technical videos on different topics. In this video, we will learn about Active Directory FSMO roles. FSMO stands for Flexible Single Master Operation Role, and we will understand what are these FSMO roles and how do we use them to manage our Active Directory environment. In this video, we'll first go with the FSMO role definition. We'll understand what actually a FSMO role is. Then we will learn about the single master model and multi-master model. We will take a look at 5 FSMO roles. What are the FSMO roles on forest level, FSMO roles on domain level, and we will look into PowerShell command to check FSMO roles. So let us begin with our first topic, FSMO role definition. So what actually a FSMO role is? FSMO, pronounced as FSMO, it stands for Flexible Single Master Operations roles. These are special roles in Active Directory that help manage the Active Directory environment effectively. These roles are necessary for ensuring consistency and integrity across multiple domain controllers within a network. In Active Directory, certain operations require that only one domain controller can perform them at a time to avoid conflicts and ensure data integrity. These FSMO roles facilitate this by assigning specific responsibilities to designated domain controllers. FSMO roles are crucial components of Active Directory that help manage Active Directory operations and maintain data integrity across multiple domain controllers and domains. So this was the basic definition of FSMO roles. When we dive deep into FSMO roles, I will be able to demonstrate and present how actually it works. And for this, I'll share my whiteboard screen. So currently we are looking at a screen which is where we see there is one forest in our example. There is one domain and domain 2, and under domain 1 we have DC1, DC2. DC stands for domain controller, and so there are two domain controllers for an example I have taken, and domain 2 also has two domain controllers, DC1 and DC2. Now these are the user accounts. Let me mention it there. So what an Active Directory will hold, it would be users, and then it will hold maybe computer accounts. We will also take a look practically into the Active Directory, and these are OUs and groups. So in later videos when we discuss OUs and groups, then we will explain how we can create users, how we can create computer accounts, or how to domain join a computer. How do we manage OUs, groups, and group policies? So this video is dedicated to FSMO roles. We'll discuss FSMO roles here only for now. So now this forest that we have, it contains two domains, domain 1 and domain 2. And each of the domain have two domain controllers. So now for seamless managing of the data, or you can actually log into any of the domain controllers and create based on the what roles that you have assigned to the domain controller. We'll also learn it in some video. I'll make a video on that. What kind of domain controllers are there? So there are like domain controllers, and then there are roles attached to domain controllers, or global catalog, and there are RODCs, which is read-only domain controllers. But currently we are taking example that suppose you have to create a user account, you can go to in domain 1, you can go to any of these domain controllers and create an account. Now, what if someone creates an account on same account, he tries to create a domain controller 1 at the same time or maybe at a different time? So there would be a conflict, right? And how do we avoid that conflict? This is done through FSMO roles. So FSMO roles is required to manage these conflicts. So moving forward, we'll come back to the slide and we'll see what is a multi-master model. Multi-master model is actually when multiple domain controllers or multiple servers are given a master role. So what exactly happens? It works on the principle which is last writer wins. So if a change is being made on one domain controller and there is a change at the same time being made on second domain controller, so the domain controller which writes the value in the end, it will be accepted. So it is actually last write wins algorithm. Now changes from other DCs are discarded if a conflict arises. So if there is a conflict in adding the data, so and the last writer wins. So one there is one domain controller which is writing in the end. So if there is a conflict in the data, so the changes from other domain controllers will be discarded. It will not be taken into effect. So the one which is writing the data in the end, it will be only the data which will come to your Active Directory. It is problematic and it gives you conflicts. Now, preventing conflict is often a better approach than resolving them afterwards. So, if this multi-master model is maybe effective in a very small setup, however, by default, if you are like even in a small setup, you are installing Active Directory, the system that works is single master model. This single master model defines the FSMO roles. So what is this single master model? To prevent to prevent conflicting updates, Active Directory uses a single master model for certain objects. In a single master model, only one domain controller can process updates across the entire directory. So you see, there is only one domain controller which will be provided with the master role, and this is the single master operation model. This concept is similar to the primary domain controller PDC role in older version of Windows like Windows NT and 3, 3.51 and 4.0. So primary domain controller role was previously into effect, but now it has changed to FSMO roles. In earlier version, the PDC handled all updates within the domain. Active Directory expands on this model by introducing multiple roles which can be transferred to any DC. So if I take the example here, so once I discuss the 5 FSMO roles, I can show it to you. Currently, Windows have 5 FSMO roles. What are these 5 FSMO roles? Let us see. So FSMO roles, there are 5 FSMO roles like Schema Master, Domain Naming Master, Read Master, PDC Emulator, and Infrastructure Master. So we'll look into all these roles in detail. There are two forest level FSMO roles. One is Schema Master and one is Domain Naming Master. So if I take you to my diagram here, so if on the forest level, if this is my forest DC, forest controller, then what I will have is the two roles will be given to this. So it is the schema master, it will become the schema master, and it will become the domain naming master. So now what is a schema? Uh, it is actually the definition of attributes, how definition of objects. So it defines objects and objects, classes and attributes of the objects. So it is kind of naming convention, you can say. Domain naming master is like it is a naming convention for domains, right? Suppose you add a child domain here in this case. Suppose if you are putting a child domain, so, and suppose I write it like child domain. So the naming the naming of this child domain would be like, you cannot name it like anything, or suppose maybe you're putting a domain here, like another domain you're adding to this forest, like suppose you're adding domain 3. So how who will decide what name you can put? Then suppose you domain 2 is here, maybe. Okay, how to give write an example? Suppose I make it like a domain which is baikus.com, right? And this domain I'll write like my domain, thepoemstory.com. So these are the two domains I have. Now suppose I am adding a third domain. Okay, I'm adding a third domain here, and I just copy and paste here. So when I'm naming this domain, when I put a name for this domain, it will be controlled. It will be checked in the forest whether there is a conflicting domain, or exact domain which is suppose. So if I put here like write a domain name, I can make it like baikus.com, then it will not accept. Now then it will not accept it, right? And who control this? It will be controlled by the domain naming master. If I create kind of child domain, maybe abc dot baikus.com. So a child domain, this is my primary domain. If I'm adding a subdomain, then the domain naming master will decide what is the suffix that we use for this my domain. So it is controlled by domain naming master. Now if we talk about if we talk about FSMO roles on domain level, so they are read master, PDC emulator, and infrastructure master. So I'll copy as it is and put it on my whiteboard. So paste it here. It is too large. So right. So on domain level, I can have kind of. So I'll make it like this. So read master, PDC emulator. Now, why? If you see in the naming, it says flexible single master operation. So there would be a single master, that is okay. But why is it flexible? Because I can put this FSMO role on the domain controllers, like on different domain. Suppose I want this DC1 to be my read master, so I can put it here. We'll create, when I create the detailed video on like explaining each of these FSMO roles, then I'll discuss what actually is a read master. And suppose I want to make this as PDC emulator. So DC1 is read master, DC2 is PDC emulator, and we can transfer these roles based on our requirement. We can transfer these roles from DC1 to DC2 or DC2 to DC1. Uh, and suppose I want to add like infrastructure master here. So you can assign these roles to the domain controller you want. That is the reason it contains flexible in its naming convention. So we will do a complete practical when I create video on like managing FSMO roles. So we'll do a complete practical. How do you transfer these roles? So this is an introduction video on FSMO roles. So we'll stick to the topic. So going back to the next slide, how do you check in your AD environment which domain controller holds the domain level FSMO roles and forest level FSMO roles. So I have my DC domain controller running. So let us see. I will log into my domain controller. Log in. Okay. Once I'm logged into my domain controller, what I'll tell you here is because this is only one domain controller in my environment. So if I run the command, it will show you the same value for the machine. However, when we put more domain controllers, then I can show you how we can set up a particular FSMO role for other domain controllers. So nothing to worry about when if you are working in a multiple domain controller environment, or you have multiple domain controllers. These commands will help you finding out the FSMO role holders. So I will start PowerShell, and because I run the codes with PowerShell ISE, you can go to PowerShell or PowerShell ISE. I'll run PowerShell ISE. Okay. I have enlarged the window for you. So first we'll check the FSMO roles on the forest level, and the command is, so I'll put my command, I'll put in the video description as well these commands. So checking FSMO roles and complete forest information. So the command is get AD forest. So we will highlight, we'll put our cursor on this line, and you click on this small run the section. If you run like complete, it will run the all the PowerShell codes, whatever you put in this scripting. So currently I just need to run get AD forest. So I'll put my mouse cursor here and click on run. So it returned me the values. So if you see here, it is domain naming master. This is this PC. This, okay. So how do I show you this PC? So I go to system, about, and this is my PC name, win 0HF6DU. Generally I change the name, but it's okay. This time I have not changed. There is one more command you can see, like if you are working on a PC, if you put host name and run this, it will give you the name of the PC. Now because there is a domain controller installed on it, so it will suffix it with bycus.com. So the machine name becomes like the host name. This is host name dot bycus.com. So yeah, get AD forest. Again, I'll run it. It will give you the information. Now this is my domain naming master. This is a forest level FSMO role, domain naming master, and another forest level FSMO role is schema master. So we see it here. Now we know what are domain naming master and uh, uh, like what are forest level FSMO roles. So another command you can simply run, it would be Get AD forest, select domain naming master and schema master. If you run this command, it will not give you so many values. So if you run it, it will just give you domain naming master and the schema master. So if suppose I want to change it to a list, forest level FSMO role in list format. So I'll put like the same command here. However, I will give a pipe sign and make it format list. If I do that, see what is happening. So now we are getting domain naming master as this machine, the schema master as this machine. So nothing to be confused here because I'm already running one domain controller. So you will get everywhere, you'll get the same name. So now let us see domain level FSMO roles. So if I go domain level FSMO roles, now if you want to get the complete domain information, the command is get AD domain. So if I run it, now it is giving me a whole lot of information. This information is valuable. However, now we are sticking to the FSMO roles, not just to confuse you. So if you see here, infrastructure master, what we are getting? Read master, this machine, uh, read master, and there we search for PDC emulator. PDC emulator is again this machine. And one more. Read master we got, PDC emulator we got, and the third one is infrastructure master. Okay, so you list infrastructure master here. So if you're checking FSMO role and this many information, sometimes it is tough to get. So again, we will do some modification in the code and use this code for specific information like PDC emulator and run it. So now you see read master, infrastructure master, PDC emulator. It is all this machine because I have only one domain controller. So I keep repeating. Don't get confused. If you are running a multi-domain controller environment, you'll get and if these FSMO roles are distributed among multiple domain controllers, then you'll get different names there. So yeah, format as a list. So we get read master, infrastructure master, and PDC emulator. So I hope this was good information. How do we check it? The FSMO roles. Now come back to my slide, and these are the two domains. I'll add more codes in the description like how I showed you. Now moving to the next slide. So here are I should not mention like 10. So here are some important points about FSMO roles. So this we have discussed. It is used to maintain data consistency. 5 FSMO roles are schema master, domain naming master, read master, RID master we call it, PDC emulator, and infrastructure master. All these I'll define in my next video one by one what actually they do. And okay, so in a summary, you'll see schema master. Now what is a schema master? This role is responsible for updates to the Active Directory schema, and is the only DC that can process schema changes. What is a domain naming master? This role manages the addition and removal of domains in the forest and ensures that domain names are unique. Now, the read master allocates pool of read to each DC in domain, ensuring unique security identifiers SIDs for security principles. So, suppose if I want to show you here, the command is get AD user identity add administrator. So if I run this command, so you see here is SID, right? You get this SID value. Now this is object GUID. So this SID is unique whenever you create a user, and so it the user is assigned with a security identifier. Now this security identifier is managed by the domain. There is a RID pool. Uh, so every domain controller manages this pool, and it is the job of read master, which allocates that pool to all the domain controllers so that they can assign like a read value or SID security identifier value to any user, like user account, computer, any object that is created. Now this, even if a user is deleted, this remains with your Active Directory so that it does not assign the SID to another user even if you delete this account. So when we discussed in detail the SID, the security identifier, we will show you how the user, when users are created or deleted, how this SID remains unique. So this is the job of read master. Now this PDC emulator, which is primary domain controller emulator. Now this role provides backward compatibility for Windows NT systems, handles password changes, and synchronizes time across the domain. Now why time is important? Because for authentication, right? So we will discuss when PDC emulator, we'll discuss how it synchronizes the time and how it handles password changes. Infrastructure master, responsible for maintaining references to objects in different domains, ensuring that cross-domain references are accurate. This means that when you are referring to an object in different domains, like how that object is presented, the naming and all, it remains accurate and it is accurately represented. It is a domain level FSMO role. Now, coming back to my slide. So this was an introduction video on FSMO roles. Hope that adds a value to your learning. Even as I told you, I'm not an expert. I'm also learning through these YouTube videos. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, and share. So do subscribe because I would be bringing more videos. If you like it, just give me a like. Share if you need someone needs like help, or you need to help someone or you want to help someone, and comment in case I go somewhere I go wrong. If comment in the case where you want to ask a question, comment if there is anything I can help you with, like operating system installation, VMware installation, and how do you configure, and with PC specifications. So we'll definitely help you there. Thank you and have a nice day.